Hi, everybody. I'm excited to have Michal Langer here. She's been with Lemonade for over 6 years. She has a background in physics, which in my mind is one of the best backgrounds possible. She led the pet product when it was starting, which has turned into a phenomenal product. She now leads a car product as well as being the chief product officer at Lemonade. So welcome, Michal. Thank you so much for being here, taking the time.
Hi, good to be here.
And it really is exciting. We're going to focus this interview on car. And it's really exciting to specifically talk about car because it's such an important part of the thesis and the potential upside. And so, any sort of detail we can glean as investors, we're going to be very excited to have that. And I thought at first we could talk about the telematics side of things. So, at Investor Day, you showed that 96% of Lemonade Car customers use telematics versus 9% of the industry. As well, you showed that 92% of Lemonade customers use continuous telematics versus only 1% of the industry. Why is there such a large discrepancy between Lemonade and the rest of the industry? Is it primarily because of the age and tech savviness of your customer base? Or are you better at nudging customers and convincing them to sign up and use it? Or is the user interface of Lemonade just that much better and more seamless? Maybe I'm assuming it's all of the above, but I'd love to hear your thoughts. How does Lemonade get so much buy-in for telematics while others struggle?
So, it's a combination of things, as you mentioned, but I think there are inherent benefits to the fact that we're out of the bat telematics product. So everything is weaved with telematics in how we approach things, if it's pricing and underwriting and automation and our experience. So I think the high adoption is an artifact of how we built telematics. So I'll give you some examples. We don't have a customer base that we now need to, they bought one thing and now we need to convince them of the benefits of telematics and moving to giving us data. We're
Mm-hmm.
super comfortable with the product we've built. We believe it's better for our customers to have telematics. So we're upfront about it. And customers who buy Lemonade Car, they know that they're going to share their driving data with us. We also, I think other companies have multiple apps. So they have their main app, and then there's another app they need to convince the customers to download from the third-party provider. And with us, we have our one Lemonade app, which is, I think, beautiful and easy to use, and our customers use it. So they just, turn on location services, and that's about it.
Yeah.
I think on top of that, we are weaving it into all of the experience. We talk about why it's beneficial for you. And I think it's helpful that it's true. You do get better prices. Your claims are going to be managed faster. We have perks. So, for example, we have crash detection. So if something happens, we reach out, we see that you're okay. We send you emergency services.
Mm-hmm.
We have tree planting. So we help you with the carbon footprint, and you can see your family forest in the app, cute stuff like that. So I think everything is tailored around this. And on top of that, as you mentioned, you have young customers who are tech savvy and they feel comfortable with sharing information. So all of that is driving these gaps.
Yeah, that makes so much sense and just fits so perfectly with the market you're trying to cut into or carve into or taking. A big thing with telematics, at least in my mind, is how soon you can get insights on a person. So in the Q1 letter, it said, in Q1 of this year, it said, we're pioneering ways to incorporate telematics insights earlier than ever, at or near point of sale, long before traditional models would allow. So when I hear that, I kind of wonder, what's the mechanics of that, at least what you're willing or able to share. How can you know someone's telematics even before they're a car customer or right at the point of sale? I would speculate maybe it's the free roadside assistance that lets you, get your foot in the door. Maybe there's other methods going on. What could you share with us there?
So we build a really powerful brand for young consumers at this stage, and they're coming to us. And our way to get them to convert is giving them better prices than the rest of the companies. And that goes through knowing that they drive well. So it's a key priority for us to be able to price them as soon as they come to us. So the faster we do that, the better we're going to grow. So it's a big focus of ours, and I can't share too many details because I do feel like this is a secret sauce, and we have unique approach going into this. But I can share that we're looking at different things like customer self-assessment or third-party data or predictive models based on all of the information that we do know at the point of sale. And then after that, we're also looking into how fast, once you start driving with us, we're able to know how you're driving and with what confidence, and when we update your price. So all of these things are right now in tons of testing, and we're seeing really, really great progress. And I'll share probably later on when we're feeling more comfortable with sharing secret sauce.
Yeah, for sure. And I would imagine you're trying to be not a car first company, but a car cross sell company. And I would imagine there'd be insights into, oh, you're a really great renters or pet customer. So maybe the data, or I assume the data might translate over then to show that you might be, or you could be, a good or safer driver as well. Another part of the telematics. Another question in a lot of people's mind when they start thinking about this in more detail is when you're talking about usage-based pricing and tracking miles and behavior. How do you know that the phone of the driver is actually the one driving? For example, how does Lemonade Telematics distinguish between that you're driving, or you're in the passenger seat, or you get in a rideshare vehicle, or maybe my wife picks up my phone and texts somebody, or changes the music, or whatever it is? How can you differentiate or tell that? Because that seems like a really critical thing to correctly measure somebody's driving behavior and risk.
Yeah, so these things, there are advancements all the time, but I can tell you, if you're thinking about driver versus passenger, or it's a statistical model that, spits out the probability that this is the driver or the passenger, it's not 100% correct. So you could have instances where you're mixed up, but it's not enough to really make a difference in your pricing. We're looking for consistent patterns on your driving behavior that are going to tell us what type of driver you are. So if somebody has their daughter's boyfriend driving the car for one time, it's not gonna make the difference. So there are a lot of different things that go into it. I can give some examples if it's interesting, but
yeah, sure. If you want to, that'd be great.
So the type of things that go into understanding passenger versus driver can be things like if there's a public transportation route, or if how the phone moves the direction getting out of the car or into the car, or angles when turning. There are a lot of these type of things that are kind of aggregated and
right. You layer on enough of those things and your confidence grows that you can say, yep, this was the driver, or no, they were the passenger, or, oh, they're actually on a bus and they're taking a bus route.
Exactly.
And they're stopping and starting.
If there's something that's really consistent and happens a lot, then there might be a reason. Like there's somebody that uses your car all the time, then maybe that's something that we need to know as well.
Yeah. That makes sense. Perfect sense. Another thing related to telematics is this OBD-II device, or if that's the correct terminology for it.
Yeah.
But it's a plug-in device in your car. I think some of us investors are a bit confused about when this is applicable or not, because I think it's at least your Oregon customers that use this device. Maybe there's others too, but I read it's at least in Oregon for sure. Car customers are using this plug-in device, and it tracks maybe your mileage or maybe your car data or also your telematics too. So why do you have that device versus say phone tracking only? Or tell us what that purpose of that device is.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of interest in this area, so maybe I'll try to answer something a bit broad.
Sure.
So there are a lot of advancements in technology for collecting telematics data. There are different companies and providers, and they get advanced all the time. And that's not the focus for us. For us, we just care about getting the data. The magic at Lemonade happens with when the data arrives. So smoothing it out, using it for all the predictive models, understanding how you're driving, weaving it into our automation, those type of things. That's kind of where we're focused. So what we invested in is creating a system that's super flexible and agnostic, that whatever comes in, we're able to ingest it. So as these things advance, whatever is best, we're going to absorb it and do or whatever we want with it. And what's driving our decisions are assuming you have enough signal that you need for all these things. What's the best experience for our customers? So it's seamless and it doesn't bug them. And cost. Ideally, we don't pay for it and the customer doesn't feel it and we get all the data. We don't have a solution that solves all of those yet. So we were experimenting with different options, and each has advantages and disadvantages. So we have, in some places, a device, as you mentioned, in some places, a phone. We have places where people have the device and the phone together, so we can learn about the differences between them. So specifically, a device, it's better at accurate mileage collection, and you just plug it in and you forget about it, but then it has a cost and you need to ship it. And the phone is better at understanding handling a phone or distracted driving, and you just turn on location services, but then there are system notifications. So there are pros and cons to both of them, and we keep tracking and improving and using whatever is available, but at the end, we want to either have just a drop down when you purchase and you can use whatever feels more comfortable for you. Or there's one thing that will triumph all the other ways. There are cameras, there's connecting directly to the car. So we're keeping track of everything until we have the perfect solution.
Yeah, that makes sense. Are there any regulatory environments, say state by state, that says, oh, you must have one of these devices plugged in to accurately track miles or things like that?
Yes. Some states are stricter than others, and for example, if we charge you by the mile, we need to prove that it's really, really accurate. So, you might we prove that it's accurate, and we share a lot of data, and depends on the state, but yeah.
Yeah. And when you guys collect all of this data, is it then taken and used by your own in-house systems that are analyzing and getting the insights from it? Because I understand that going back to the percentages, Lemonade's 90+% of usage of telematics versus the industry is a tiny fraction of that. But that tiny fraction, my understanding is they mostly use a third-party solution, an off-the-shelf product that they'll then take and say, well, this can actually look at and take my data and analyze it and give me the insights that I need. Are you guys using those at all, or maybe even just using them as to see the benchmark or sort of the baseline of what's out there in the marketplace? And then are you analyzing the data yourself with your own in-house systems?
So we're using different providers to get the data, the telematics data, and then once it got to us, we're building the models to predict driving and everything, because you want to connect everything to your claims and your customers, and that's how you get to most accuracy. So that's the direction we're going with.
Yeah,
as of today.
for sure. That's awesome. Can we maybe touch on California? And it feels like cars a little bit confusing because there's different requirements and rules in different states that sort of change. Like, it's all one car product, but they kind of change how it looks and behaves a little bit. And maybe there's other states that are even better, or other examples as well that you want to share. But my understanding is California is a little bit different with telematics. They allow telematics for accurate per mile pricing and driving, but they don't allow it to be used to measure somebody's safety of driving. Am I understanding that correctly?
That is correct. So in California, we're able to use telematics in order to change your price based on how much you drive, which is still a really big indicator. It's basically predicting exposure and risk, but not based on how you drive.
Right.
Maybe one day it will change. I hope we can prove why this is really beneficial for our customers. But it's just a part of the job. We need to navigate the restrictions in each state. In general, I think what you're alluding to is the fact that we have in different states we have different programs that we're learning from. We have two constructs or payment types. One is pay per mile or pay as you go. So we every month will charge you based on how much you've driven, and then we have kind of a fixed price, which is you just purchase the policy for 6 months. You can pay every month or every 6 months, and it will be fixed.
Yeah.
So maybe those are the things you're seeing that might be different between different states sometimes.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I think I actually missed one of my questions here. How often do telematics insights flow back to the customer? Is it strictly at the point of renewal, say every 6 months, or do pricing adjustments happen sooner based on the data being collected?
So here, we have two guiding principles when we get to when are we going to change or identify changes in how you're driving or the pricing for it. So one is we want to make sure that we're as flexible as possible and we can change anything at any time. And then the second is the experience. So there's a lot to navigate there. From a flexibility perspective, we're able to recalculate at any point, make any changes that we want. And we also invested a lot to create more structure or degrees of freedom in our filings, which has been a challenge in the beginning. And now we can test and do a lot of things. Where we are experimenting now and trying to find that optimal point is once we know how you drive, when do we make a change? And we're experimenting there. So largely it's at renewal, but we're really trying different ways and points in time where we can update sooner. And I think there it's really how do we create enough peace of mind for our customers, but also letting them realize the benefits of them driving well. Because even we've seen that sometimes you can reduce the price for someone, but not everyone's comfortable with change or predictability. So you change once and then they think, well, is it going to happen again? And some people just prefer to have, okay, this is the price and that's it. So we're really investing in setting expectations and messaging why and when and being upfront and kind of finding that right place where we're getting the best prices for our customers, best loss ratio for us, and also that, they're not stressed about it and it's not something that changes for them all the time.
Yeah, and that makes perfect sense. And you have some customers are priced. Maybe it's some, or maybe it's all, or it's just depending on state. They're priced on a per mile basis. Are there customers or states where it's a more traditional all in price, and you're not priced per mile, but you're just priced for one fixed fixed rate, and it might change based on how your telematics score changes, and not based on your per miles? Are there different structures that way too in the pricing?
So there's the pay per mile, and then there's the fixed one. So with the fixed, we'll update at renewal based on how you drive, but also how much you drive also makes a lot of impact, because somebody that drives a lot or doesn't drive at all, it does change the telematics score as well. So at renewal, we will update both of them. So in any case, if you're a person who doesn't drive a lot, you're probably going to get a lower price.
Right.
And with the fixed, as I mentioned, we're trying to move it earlier, just because we already know you should get a better price, so we want to update it for you.
Yeah, that's awesome. That makes sense. We should shift and talk about full self-driving, because it's a very common question I get from LMND investors. They say, what sort of market will be left in car, or how might LMND Car fit into this future that might be predominantly, full self-driving. Can you share whatever thoughts you have? I know that's a big, pretty open topic. What thoughts you have on full self-driving, risks it might pose, and also opportunities it might create for the LMND Car product?
Okay. So obviously, this is an area that's very interesting for us, and we're following it very closely. I think the change here is not going to be a binary change, right? It's going to be something gradual. There's going to be a certain percentage that the car is driving versus the person is driving. And so I think innovation here is going to be in the form of lower prices for the percentage that you're not driving, or different structures or coverages. So I think in that sense, we're really set up well for innovating in this area, because we're really focused on pricing really well every single mile, whether that mile is driven by a car or by a human. So we'll just know that by a car, it's driving safer. So it will get a lower price, and we're very open to changes, and we can change whatever we want at any point. So we're working on future integrations that are going to help us understand every autonomous mile better and how it's progressing. So definitely something we're tracking and excited about. I will just say that it's hard to predict anything about the future. Who knows? Right now, it looks like it's going to take a while, but even let's say things get so much better and it's more prevalent, and TAM decreases by 10% or 20% in the next few years. Maybe it's something that Progressive and Geico will be concerned about, but for us, like car is still going to be infinite. We can 10x, and then we can 10x again. So it's not going to touch us anytime soon. So by then, I think we'll be ready.
Yeah, for sure. And in my mind, say you go out, far out from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, and autonomous full self-driving robo-taxis are more and more a part of life, and they drive safer than even the safest driver right now. So maybe all the cost for that risk is slowly shrinking down to a certain kind of baseline risk amount that still covers things that could go wrong, weather events that happen, vandalism, whatever. There could be different coverages. Even if sort of your premium per car decreases, or your risk per car decreases, in some ways the other costs associated with the product for an insurance company, such as selling the product, the customer service side of things, the handling of the claims, those are still going to be sort of a fairly fixed amount of cost, no matter what the size of the policy is, or how safe or unsafe the driver is or the vehicle is. So in that kind of world, I feel like what you guys are building will have an even stronger advantage, because those are the parts of the business that you guys can automate more and more and shrink down, versus say a legacy company that maybe their whole solution to those parts of the business are just to hire more people. Now suddenly those costs as a ratio to the sort of the overall total car costs are going to be a much bigger ratio. and it's going to be a harder product or even a less attractive product for them to compete in versus someone like Lemonade that's building this whole autonomous organization.
Yeah, you're just gonna have a super safe driver, and all of the rest of the things that we're doing, as you mentioned, we're gonna
Streamlined
implement.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, totally. Let's talk about cross selling because this is a huge part of the thesis for Lemonade as a whole. And there's another line from the Q1 letter that caught my attention, and it said, several initiatives in aggregate have yielded a more than 100% increase in car cross sales in Q1 2025 relative to Q1 2024. Can you give us any hints or details about what these initiatives are?
I can give hints.
Yeah.
Um, okay, it's a combination of a lot of things. So there's state availability and marketing efficiency and experience and pricing adjustments. So let me give a bit of detail on each. So we're continuing to roll out more states for existing customers. So they just add them as soon as we get there. We launched Colorado. We just launched Indiana. I don't know if you've seen it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And with our experience, we've really been focusing on how we speak to our customers, what resonates, how do we talk about car. We mapped every single place you can possibly reach out to customers, removed friction. So in general, the more customers we have, the better we get at predicting and reaching out to them. And our all of our marketing efficiency and machines are kind of finding their place, and
Mm-hmm.
things that work for us in renters and pet, we get into the maturity that it can go into car. So all of that is really kind of shaping up, and it's just going to get better the more customers we have.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's well, first, existing customers that are adding car, their unit on our economics are insane. So we don't have cost of acquisition, which in car is amazing. They have lower loss ratio, higher retention. We see almost no new business penalty in car, which is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a lot to play with. So we're giving them more discounts, which is obviously very helpful to get them to buy. And
Mm-hmm.
then in addition to that, we touched on this a little bit before, but we know a lot of things about our existing customers, so we can predict who from these renters or pet customers can be a really great car customer, and then we're able to give them even more discounts. So we
Mm-hmm.
have customers that are existing, and we know that they're going to be good, that they're getting amazing prices. So that's very,
Mm-hmm.
very helpful. And
Yeah.
if anyone's watching this and you have Lemonade and car is available in your state and you're not checking us out, it's really like I just feel bad because it's money on the table. So you better, just check.
Yeah, for sure.
That'd be good.
No, and I saw the Indiana announcement yesterday, and Colorado not that long ago, and I think it even said or suggested that there'd be more states planned this year. So maybe this question is a little bit obsolete already, but I'll ask it anyways. You guys have 2.5 million customers, and most of those are non-car customers, and they probably have premiums of, say $3 billion or more of car premiums they're spending elsewhere. Is there anything, potentially or possibly holding back car from, cross-selling to this existing, base of customers? For example, is the loss ratio not exactly where it needs to be, or is the claims process infrastructure still being tweaked as as more volume is being added to it and it's continually improved? Are there product level improvements that are still being implemented, or is it simply waiting state by state for the regulators to approve things and move things forward? Or maybe it's a combination of all of these factors together. that changes how quickly or aggressively it's rolled out. But I yeah I'd love to hear your view on what, if anything, is holding it back from accelerating the growth of car even faster. And maybe there's not much left. Maybe we're hitting we're at an inflection point that we're hitting right now, and we'll see the acceleration occurring.
Yeah, where you're covering every single possible reason to hold back. Um, I'll tell you this. Car is this wild horse. We can, let it go and let it explode, but we want to do it really carefully because it's a massive product and it can also do a lot of damage. So
Mm.
we're being very thoughtful about it. It's a strategic product for us. We're building a multi-billion-dollar business, and for us, not that it's definitely not that we don't have a sense of urgency.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been accused of being a patient. But a quarter here or a quarter there, that's not what's going to be kind of that's not the focus for us.
Right.
So there are a lot of things that we need to prioritize. There's so much to do. Um, each state, we're looking at, okay, what's the regulatory environment? Can we use the advantages that we have? How fast can we change? How many customers we have? And then also rolling out in different state. We're also mapping that versus working on existing things. So, I've shared a bunch of experiments we're doing, and we're seeing a lot of things that are working. And then, you see something that's working, and you're swarming in, and then you keep iterating and swarming in. So it's taking us some time to kind of catch up with inflation, get to the right rates, then get into the most sophisticated pricing and segmentation. And now everything is really working well together. We're seeing tons of really, really great stuff, but we want to do it right. So I think we've shared in the past that 2025 is kind of the feature complete year, and 2026 we're gonna realize more of that acceleration.
Mm-hmm.
And so far things are looking good. So car will be big, but we want to make sure that we're keeping everyone safe.
Yeah, that makes it makes perfect sense. As you think about car being scaled, I'm thinking about the automation of it, or the potential automation of it. So it's clear, when you look at renters or pet, you've achieved really phenomenal levels of automation that also delight the customer. It's incredible automation, and the customers are happier. It's magical. It's amazing. But how automated do you believe that sort of car, or the whole car experience could become? Can become as automated as renters or pet, or even maybe close to it? Or there are specific parts of the car product that are going to hold its back from automation, or require more human input as you scale?
Okay. I have a lot to say about this.
Good.
Touch something that's very near and dear to my heart. Okay, so a pet is an incredible product. It's the perfect product. We've talked about this in the past. It has high frequency, low severity, so you can learn really fast. And when we have data, we know what to do with it, and we're doing really amazing things. And for me, that's kind of like a pet is like a glimpse into the future, or kind of proving our thesis, and you can see what happens when we have enough data. And to me, it gives a lot of confidence about what we are able to do with car. And I should know because I built our pet insurance from scratch before I moved to car. So car is much more complicated, and there are a lot of different things that go into automating car. But also the reward is very big. So everything that you do, you're removing massive things.
Mm-hmm.
And already we're seeing really amazing things in just the way we rolled out car and the things we've built so far, even before getting to all the things that we have in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So the way we approached car at the beginning, we really like sat with industry experts and people from all of the big companies, and we mapped every step of the process. And here you have hundreds of people, and then you lose all these days, and then you need to call them again because you missed something, and then somebody goes in and says if this then that, and they make a decision. And just the way we built it is you've removed all those hundreds of people from scratch. You're making all these decisions automatically. So that's kind of how we rolled out. And already we're seeing our LAE, our loss adjustment expenses, are up to par with the biggest and more sophisticated companies in the industry. And we have a bunch of metrics that by the end of 2025 are going to be best in class, and then a bunch of them by the end of 26 best in class. So I think it's pretty amazing that we're already in this place. And it's we've nothing. We don't have buying power, we don't have economy of scale, we don't have all
Mm-hmm.
of the automation that's coming. Um, so maybe I'll give you some examples for the things that we have going for us now. So
Yeah.
um, 80% of our car claims are through the app.
Mm.
So that's an amazing number. It's kind of the opposite than what's happening in the industry, where the majority of the claims are through the phone.
Mm.
So we have all of that data coming in, validated. There are no humans. We can start automating a lot of the decisions and streamlining the processes.
Mm-hmm.
We have, for example, something happens, they open the app, and we can show them the shops that they have near them that are our internal shops. And it's
Mm.
important because we vet these shops so they have good experience, but we're integrated with them. So we save a lot of money on people going to these shops. And it's something
Mm.
that other companies are really working hard to get that into high percentage. And we basically just have that percentage super high from the beginning.
Mm.
Um, then on top of that, you layer telematics. So we know what happened. Like we know when the crash happened, the speed, the severity, or where the hit was, where were you? So we can identify fraud. There are a lot of things that we just know based on telematics, like we can understand if there was a total loss or who's at fault sometimes. So that allows us to streamline a lot of things. So
Mhm.
um, this is, I think if you and I spoke a year ago, I would say, and we have a roadmap with tons of things and automation, but with the things that happened in the
Mm.
past few months, even that's been, blowing our mind, and very soon we're going to have AI agents that are verifying things and following up and summarizing and assessing. So I think there's no limit to what we can do with car. It's very, very exciting for us. And
Mm.
we're touching every cost layer with, less humans, less time, better
Mm.
experience, um, less fraud. So feeling very, very good about our car automation.
That's really exciting. I love that idea that you think through the whole process. You think through and map out every possible little scenario. And now there's a decision, and there's a tree of other decisions that go this way or that way, and that takes
Exactly.
very, very careful, detailed thought to do that, very well. And I think that's one of the things Lemonade does so exceptionally well, is thinking through those processes, and it's all part of this broader building this autonomous organization and seeing where all of the sort of little incremental value steps lie. And what's really, really significant and what's not, and how do these pieces interact with each other. But yeah, that's super interesting. I think a lot of people, if they've tracked Lemonade at all, they could kind of imagine or picture that, yes, the sales side of things that could be automated pretty well. The customer service side of things, whether you're, asking a question or changing your address or learning, something about your policy or changing or tweaking something about it, that could all be pretty automated as well. I think where people would get more stuck is on the claims side of things. But if you think about it, like some examples you gave there, that could probably be broken down, and especially as you get more and more data, you can get more and more certain that this is a claim we can automatically pay out and approve, or this is something we have to be more hesitant on. And that was also a really interesting nugget you shared, that you're integrated with these mechanic shops. And I think you kind of alluded or mentioned that you'd get even better pricing from those, just because of the trust that's there, maybe the contract and the volume that might be done more through them.
You have contracts and you don't have fraud, but mainly the process is streamlined and it's automated, so we don't have humans involved. So that obviously saves us costs.
Yeah.
Things are faster, and in general, the reason we recommend our customers is because we know these are good shops that are going to give them the best experience, but also
Yeah.
we're going to manage the claims so much faster, so it's better for them. So it's good for everyone,
Yeah.
which is why we're recommending it, but obviously saves us costs.
That's awesome. And you guys acquired Metromile. I guess it was about 3 years out, right? What are your thoughts on the acquisition now, 3 years out from it?
Um, so Lemonade, I think when we have data, we know what to do with it, and we're really, really, really good at it. I think that's something I feel comfortable saying, and I keep repeating it. But it really drives everything for us. And getting data is painful. It takes time, which we always feel like we don't have, and you need to lose money in order to get it because claims and loss ratio. So we're always in this search of finding data faster and using data faster or learning faster. And I think a lot of the messaging that we had around the acquisition of Metromile was collapsing time.
Mhm.
And that was the reason for us to look for an acquisition like that. And Metromile was a wonderful opportunity for us. It's a telematics company. They had almost half a billion trips and billions of miles, tons of claims. So we took all of that data, and it's used for everything, for our predictive modeling, for underwriting experience. We were able to use it to boost everything that we have.
Mhm.
And on top of that, we got customers and IFP and 49 licenses. So that was just like a cherry on the cake. And the terms that we had, it was almost like free. So I think overall, very, very good in terms of the unit economics and the learnings, and it gave us a big boost.
Mhm.
Um, we did have, if I'm kind of sharing the whole learning or the experience from the acquisition, um, we had a moment there where we kind of needed to make a decision between moving fast and having multiple systems that don't necessarily talk to each other, or keeping legacy and those type of things, versus taking the time and the resources to move to one streamlined system, and everything is advanced and agile like we believe we want to have. And I think there was something symbolic about that decision, because it's kind of like, what company do we want to be? And I think I have so much empathy to companies who choose to just move forward and not take the time to do it, because it's painful and it takes time, and you need to kind of get patience from everyone around. But I'm so happy that we've done that, and that we're now like I'm very proud of that decision. Now we're running. Everything is speaking to each other. We have,
Mhm.
like we always say, we have one system and everything is connected. So um, now it's super fast, and we're in good shape.
That's awesome. Are there still kind of Metromile customers under that brand, or have they all now been moved? Oh, okay,
It's Lemonade.
they've been moved over.
Yeah, everything is through the system of Lemonade, the data of Lemonade, and
Because
yeah.
I think I had talked to Shy about this, that you guys were very intentional in how you move those customers over. It's not like it was one bulk email and moved everybody over. No, it was very very careful nudging and prompting to make sure that transition went as well as it could. And then people or customers realize, oh, okay, now I'm moving over to Lemonade. But that's
Yeah.
happened where everyone's moved over by now. Hey,
Yeah, I think it's true to say we obsess about every single time we speak to our customers about anything. So that was carefully thought as well.
that's awesome. Yeah. Have there been any issues or bumps in the road, so many good car metaphors that you've encountered when experimenting with car. Any learnings, stories, anecdotes that you want to share or leave with us?
We had a lot of bumps, and there are a lot of puns in the car.
Yeah.
Um, so I think a few things that we had to learn in car. One thing is when I don't know if you remember this, but basically when we launched car, inflation went insane. Like
Right.
you look 10 years before that, there was nothing of that magnitude. You couldn't even. So we basically just launched car and this crazy inflation happened. And we had to kind of chase rate in a really tough regulatory environment, which is car. So we had to um, up our game in filings and managing rate really, really fast. So I think that was a one thing. Just entering the car market was an interesting experience. I think in general, just the wheels of time in car, like by the time that we see something, want to change, understand something, and the
Yeah.
time that it takes to actually make it from our regulatory environment. It's been a learning for us, and I think we've invested a lot once we picked up on it, on how we create structure within filings and programs and tools to allow us to change things. And now I think we're a much, much better place, and we're able to change and test, and we've created kind of that structure for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about Metromile. I think there was a lot of learnings and kind of defining moments for us with that acquisition that I think we're they're really good place at the other side of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think in general in car, it's true for all of the products at Lemonade, but in car specifically, it's especially true that every word matters. Like we really, really, really see a huge difference. It's such a competitive and complicated product that you can see, in an email, we try different phrasing and it can be completely different outputs, or you can have people tell you, listen, it's been tried for in other places 20 times, it just won't work, and then we find the angle and then it does work. So really, really,
Mm-hmm.
really understanding how we use experience to drive action, it works and it's worth the investment, and it's something that I think we really, really invested in car and learned. um, I can tell you one or two launch stories if you want. I don't know
Sure.
if
Yeah.
it's interesting.
No,
Um, One thing is, you asked me about the telematic adoption, and when we launched car, uh, telematics was kind of, we thought it's going to be so amazing and everything is centered around it, but we weren't sure, are people actually going to give us their driving data? And we were kind of, if it doesn't work, then we need to go back to the drawing board. Like, what if we roll out and there's nothing? And we planned like tons of like very long roadmap of improvements, and we had internal bets, and there were very low bets of what would be the percentage. And then we rolled it out and it was just super high. We were like, that doesn't happen. Usually something happens
yeah.
and then you need to iterate. And it was just, people just got it. And we
Mm-hmm.
still had to work on it and improve because we're never satisfied. But
Mm-hmm.
it was, I remember we kind of took this breath and said, okay, I think this is going to work. And so in general, like maybe I'll end with another story.
Mm-hmm.
About car or how we planned car. After we finished pet and we felt we were ready, we came into car with a lot of healthy fear,
Mm-hmm.
as you should. And we kind of thought and planned on how we're going to get into the market, what's going to be the advantage, how do we approach this. And I had these experts across Lemonade who have been in the industry for many, many years in claims and insurance and legal and finance. And we would come to them together or separately, and kind of show, okay, here's how we're planning to do this. And I would say, listen, tear this apart. Like, tell me all the reasons it's going to fail. And they would say, this is, you're going to fail. It's not going to work. And then I would go back to the drawing board and then come back again. Okay, how about this? And like back and forth again and again until I remember one time I came and I showed the latest to one of the experts that we have in claims, so I think very highly of. And he looked at it, and I remember he kind of paused and he said, "Oh my God, we're going to win this." And I remember I didn't even need
Mm.
to hear him say it. I saw it in his eyes. I saw like this thing, okay, this is going to work. So for me, that's kind of the story of car in general. I think we're not afraid of what can go wrong, or what's a disadvantage. We're excited about understanding it and turning it into an advantage. And car is inevitable. Like we have such a good product, which our customers already really like, and we have telematics and technology and automation and existing customers. It's all going in the right direction. And I think we're going to be relentless and thoughtful about it until it's just going to take over. So yeah, it's very, very, very interesting and exciting to work on car, and I think the rest of the team feels that way too.
Awesome. Well, we'll end it there. And thanks so much for your enthusiasm.
Can't say anything after this. It's
Yeah.
yeah.
And thank you for taking the time and unpacking more of car for us. And
Thank you.
there's a growth investor named Neil Mehta who I came across. A question he has when he's evaluating a company, and he says, "Are there best days ahead or behind for this company?" And from my perspective, the answer to the question is for not only Lemonade the company, but LMND the stock. It's just it's a resounding yes, yes, yes. The best days are most definitely ahead. There's just so much exciting potential, and on the cusp of really incredible things happening, and sort of an inflection point. And so much that's going to take off in the next few years. So yeah, really exciting times, and it's so great to have you here again. So thanks once again.
Thank you. Anytime.
Hope you enjoyed my interview with Michal Langer, head of CAR. If you want to learn more about Lemonade Investment, I encourage you to watch their Investor Day from November 2024, or check out my Patreon where you can see my in-depth Lemonade model. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, it's in the bag.